Well, hello everybody. Welcome to the Triple S League live stream covering some breaking news that's happening today. I couldn't believe it when I read this. I honestly, legitimately thought it was a joke. I don't even know what to say about this, but believe it or not, it is true. Daniel Radcliffe is going to be playing Weird Al in a biopic movie. I mean, I know you're all stunned. I will accept your stunned silence.
He's fat. Shamona.
Of course, we are actually here to talk about Microsoft and Xbox buying Activision Blizzard of all things, and I'm not kidding. I had to double check and make sure this wasn't a joke, that it wasn't April 1st, and that it wasn't some elaborate prank that was being played on us. But no, it is legit and absolutely true, or it's the best funded prank ever pulled. And by the way, that voice you just heard was Max Darrett. And that other voice you just heard was Obsidian, and we've got Moon with us as well. The whole crew's here today. So this is a banger way to start off 2022, I think. Mm-hmm. By the way, Augmented Reality Podcast is returning tomorrow on the Triple S Podcasts channel.
Yay!
We'll have nice updates. I'll post on the Discord server when we're going live, and we've decided to bring that back. And anyway, we'll get into more of that tomorrow. Today, we're going to specifically focus on this story. And I'm going to, now that you've seen us all, I'm going to hide our avatars. Max Darrett, of course, the host of Maximum News, which he does with Obsidian, also on the Triple S Podcasts channel. So if you're not subscribed over on the Triple S Podcasts channel, you're missing some great news coverage and news content. So definitely do that. You can find the link in the description below. So, all right. Lots of comments already on this in the chat. They started before we even started streaming. We will read your comments and thoughts.
Funky had a lot of good points.
Yeah.
And we're gonna get into a lot of this
for sure. But
this is huge news because this is like this kind of like I would say it's the cap off, I think, and it's a cap off in the really weird, just sad direction. And like this has been going on for probably this has been in the planning phase for probably over a year, I would imagine, because when you're spending more than $50 billion on something, you tend to be like arranging that a year ahead of time.
Yeah.
And this now makes sense with a bunch of the comments that Phil Spencer has had about Activision Blizzard. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's start with that. So, this back in November, we had news articles about how Xbox was reevaluating its relationship with Activision Blizzard in light of all of the scandals, the abuse allegations and everything disgusting that's been going on with Activision Blizzard. Which, I mean, brief overview. The company culture at Blizzard has been just incredibly toxic, discriminatory against women, and there's allegations of sexual abuse and misconduct and things being covered up by HR. And Activision CEO Bobby Kotick has been implicated in some of this, in that he knew about it and did nothing. At best did nothing, and at worst actively covered things up. So would you say that's a fair summary of the allegations? And again, allegations. But this has been, Blizzard's been taken to court on some of this stuff. So this is the context for...
No, they weren't just taken to court. They were taken to court by a bunch of people that used to work with Bobby Kotick, mm-hmm. and or people that used to work for him, by certain government people, and they were found guilty. And they had to pay is massive, absolutely massive fine. They're a $1 billion company. They make billions of dollars every quarter. Every quarter, they make at least $2 billion. So this monumental, absolutely slamming down like a hand from heaven, coming down and just crushing them, suing them for a grand total of $13 million. It was huge. I mean, they made billions of dollars off these people, but I think
13
million
That's like a paper cut, and we all know how much we don't like paper cuts. So those things sting, man.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, they're the worst. I mean,
so yeah, this is I'm of course being exaggeratory.
Well, of course, yeah. So really, yeah, they got a slap on the wrist, if that.
Now
it's more like a slap on the wrist with a wet noodle kind of a thing.
Yeah. Now there is another court case pending, which could equal up to or around like 300-400 million. Which again isn't even a quarter of what they make every quarter.
Right. That would sting a bit more, I would imagine.
Slightly more, but not that much.
It's really not going to bring them down. And I mean, the goal isn't. I mean, I don't know what the goal is, but anyway, bottom line is that I mean, besides the legal implications, their PR has been irreparably harmed. It's their reputation is in the toilet right now. They, not just, I mean, in the midst of all this, their output has just been awful. And so Activision Blizzard's in a very bad place right now.
I was just getting, so I've been like, this has been going around quite a bit. But it does look like we're not going to be getting, and again, this is probably why they didn't want to make promises while this deal was in the works. But I think this is also why Diablo has been delayed till next year. That's right. Not 2022, 2023, or quite possibly 2024. Overwatch 2 has been delayed. A lot of other stuff has been delayed. World of Warcraft is in an absolute tailspin. Mm-hmm. It's been an absolute gong show, and I'll say this right now. It's like Microsoft paid way too much for this. Way too much for this. They dropped down to about $60 a share. Their ultimate high was like 103. It was corrected down to about 80. During like the tech crash that happened, a minor tech crash that happened in the last like year or two, and then this whole thing dropped down to about 60. But then again, a lot of these advisors in the industry of stock advisory kept on saying, buy the dip, buy the dip, buy the dip, buy the dip. I don't think the $60 was the dip. I really don't think so.
Well, even if it wasn't the dip, though, I mean, obviously they're anticipating some sort of a comeback on the cost of the company. Obviously, they're anticipating something. They wouldn't have done this if they didn't somehow foresee a financial gain from. Well,
Microsoft has been sold the bill of goods in this case, I think.
Okay.
Because they're buying it at like $95 a share. I think honestly that the actual worth of like if this buyout hadn't happened, and if Blizzard would have just been left in its current position with its current catalog of games, with its current catalog of problems, I think they would have been lucky to ever hit at like north of 70 ever again, ever. I think that all of their stuff is like, they don't have they have almost no esports division anymore. Their entire testing and quality assurance side of the company has been completely dismantled over the last like year and a half, 2 years. And they have no solid game products in the future lined up for release within the next 2 years that has any promise or worth. They're about to be crushed in the Diablo game by Lost Ark, which is now backed by Amazon, which the game's going to come out in less than a month. We have no idea whether it's going to be, it's going to have the sticking power. I'm going to say that it's going to, because it's been released in Asia and I don't know how you say it. It's been released in like Russia, Asia, and then like, Korean Asia. So
that explains the graphics.
well, yeah. I mean, it's a Korean game.
Right.
Now that game offers like, do you want to go out onto a ship, explore the ocean, find an island, set up a little island like kingdom, build your base at the same time as doing everything to a way better extent than Diablo has ever done when it comes to just massive world fights and devastation and crushing massive armies of enemies with amazing spells, with doing boss fights that are, there's a boss fight where the explanation video is about an hour long for the fight.
Okay.
That's the quick,
so it's pretty deep.
That's the quick explanation for for the top tier raid fight in Lost Ark. There's a video on this it floors me. It's like, I think it's about 20 players, 15 to 20 players, and they fight this boss for an hour straight without wiping. Almost an hour straight without wiping.
Anyway,
now,
your main point here is that Blizzard's
they don't have, there's nothing on their catalog that they have that's good other than Candy Crush. They've been fumbling everything. Like Overwatch is, you look at like Apex, you look at Fortnite, those games have really like taken the place of what Overwatch was in the fandom, in the interaction, in the social media space, in the streaming space. It really has put them, on second fiddle. Like not even second fiddle. I think like Overwatch is like third. I mean, it's not even streaming regularly in high numbers anymore.
Right.
So I mean, you could effectively say that.
What does Blizzard have to offer? Yeah. What is it? And that's a very good point, and I think we should spend some more time talking about that. I want to get Max's initial impressions in here, and Moon's as well. Can you guys remind me, how long have we been covering the Blizzard scandals? Do you even remember?
Didn't it start in like August of last year?
August, I think of 2021. So it hasn't been a year. It certainly feels like it's been a long time.
Definitely feels like it.
No.
Feels like it's been a lot longer.
It wasn't August of last year. It was August of the year before that.
No,
2020.
That's when people started leaving. Yeah.
Huh.
Well, no, so like when it became public, like that report.
Oh, that was like March of last year.
Oh, okay.
No, that doesn't that's
so
this.
Been a long,
This has been going on all summer, all fall, all winter. It's just been constantly getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse.
So I guess my question is, when did Microsoft start looking at as they're walking along arm in arm with Bethesda, like the girlfriend meme, right, where the guy looks back and sees the other girl, and just paste Blizzard over the other girl's head and Bethesda over his girlfriend's head, and Microsoft is the guy looking. I would have put that on the thumbnail if I had time. I went with Futurama Fry because literally I was like, not sure if joke, and then not sure if good or complete disaster. Yeah. But anyway, when did Microsoft start looking at Blizzard as a potential acquisition before or after all of the bad stuff came out?
No, Blizzard has been looking to buy. Activision. Oh, good Lord. Microsoft has been looking to buy out any studio that they can. They've started to seriously search for them, especially the big ones, for well over 2 years now. Like this is something that they started with. Of course they bought out Obsidian, they bought out dozens of smaller studios, then they bought out Bethesda. Now they're buying this out. There's still rumors circulating that they're trying to buy out either Sega or Square Enix. That they've been in talks for a while now with one of those studios. They've been in talks with a whole bunch of other Japanese studios. They've been looking at buying out additional European ones. They were for a while considering buying out some some other studios that are more household names, that kind of stuff. Like, they're wanting to corner the market as much as they can because they really, really want to get in on, putting their claim in as being back to being number one. And so they've been like, this has been going on for a while. Now, I think basically, when the lawsuit was filed, I would say probably it was that week that Bobby went and called up Microsoft and was like, "Hey, we want to sell to you." Like, I know you came with some offers a couple months ago, but I think as soon as he knew that lawsuit was going to hit the news, I think that is when he called up Microsoft and said, "Hey, yeah, so we're going to be having some issues here at the company, and it's going to be bad, and we're looking to sell." I think logically you can look at how Bobby works, how he functions, and you can say that that was the plan from the get-go. Is that as soon as he knew that they were going to be what's the word?
Well, their prices were going to go down.
Yeah.
I mean, or
they
tank basically.
Well, of course.
Yeah.
Why would he? I mean, okay. Anyway,
yeah,
I don't want to try and
it's gotten progressively worse since
absolutely.
then. It's like there is nothing that is not on fire right now in a bad way at Blizzard. There's nothing.
Yeah, the whole thing is blazing.
Well, sorry, except for Candy Crush. Again,
Candy Crush is wrecking
so
it. Yeah.
Dumb.
Well, as Funky Moy points out, your quote that they have nothing good on their catalog other than Candy Crush is priceless and scary. I agree. So back in November, it was being reported that Xbox was reevaluating its relationship with Activision Blizzard. Now we realize that meant something completely different than we thought it meant. And now, about a week ago, Phil Spencer was on a podcast, and it's being reported a week ago that he doesn't want to virtue shame Activision or other gaming companies. He just wants to learn from their mistakes. It's basically a summary of what he said. So, Max and Moon, your thoughts on what all this means?
Like just the general buyout and like
sure. Your general thoughts, but also Phil Spencer's comments, and is he being like morally? What does this have moral, ethical implications? It
depends. Is Bobby Kotick going to be gone after all this is done? Because that's the thing, right?
Not right off the bat. He's staying on at least for now.
Right,
but
is it when his contract is up in 2023?
I think that he's in this sale 100%. He's maneuvered himself so that he'll stay in as the CEO or head person there until he decides to step down at some point later on in the future. And I think that was probably baked into the sale price.
Right.
I really hope like this would restore my faith in humanity to a certain level. If Bobby got in and then like a month or two later there was a report that was leaked or came out about how he's been like caught red-handed with a bunch of other like essentially like crimes by a Microsoft investigator, and he gets shown the door, and because there's a morality clause in his agreement, he gets the boot. It's like that would restore my faith in humanity. Is that going to happen? I really doubt it. Hence my lack of faith in humanity.
I mean, it is certainly just seeing these two headlines, like I said, and this. There were people on Twitter pointing this kind of thing out. They're reevaluating their relationship, and then suddenly, head of Xbox doesn't want to be virtue shaming, and lo and behold, now they're buying Blizzard. Anyway, Max, you're continue your thoughts, and Moon, I want you to jump in too if you have anything. By the way, Moon, could you quickly look up for me what Microsoft bought Bethesda for? But
sure.
Yeah, Max, go ahead.
All right. So I have a couple of thoughts that I want to add on top of what Saib said before, but I generally agree with him. When it comes to the properties that they own, they are going up against some pretty decent competition. The only exception is COD, which I think is still like too lucrative a franchise that I think it makes sense for Microsoft to buy that out and to use to their advantage. Granted, Vanguard did come out and the sales weren't as good, but that's just one game. It might not. I don't know what the deal with that is. We'll have to see if that trend continues with the next Call of Duty game that comes out. But aside from that, obviously Overwatch has got some pretty decent competition going into the near future. Halo just came out. Let's see what else. People still do want to play Diablo. Diablo 4, I've sent some anticipation for that game coming out, but of course there's all the backlash against their original approach to that franchise, what with Diablo Immortal. Let's see what else here. World of Warcraft, obviously, that's like Saib said, is a huge downward spiral. Everybody's going over to Final Fantasy 14 right now. Although who knows, maybe the whole NFT thing is going to screw that up to a certain degree. I will say though, one shining beacon of light that came out of this deal for me is the fact that Toys for Bob, because it is a part of the Activision Blizzard conglomerate, I hope to God that Microsoft will reverse Activision's original decision to put the entire Toys for Bob team on working on Call of Duty Warzone and allow them to go back to working on Spyro 4. Spyro 4, guys, you have no idea how much I love Spyro. Spyro 3 for the original PlayStation 1 was one of my top 5 favorite games of all time, and I loved what Toys for Bob did with Crash 4, so I obviously want to see what they would do with a Spyro 4, but that got more or less canceled. I hope, though, that this buyout will revive that. But aside from that, I have to agree with Saib. Aside from Call of Duty and Candy Crush, I am kind of skeptical about the long-term financial viability of franchises like Overwatch, World of Warcraft. Maybe Diablo and StarCraft might be able to regain some financial and cultural popularity, but
I completely forgot that StarCraft was a thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mean that I could forgot it, but it's like that's another game where they got no plans for that right now at all. The entire core division that made the best of that game the most recently all left and built their own studio.
True.
And they named it. I can't remember what they named it, but it was it's basically Good Games Over Ego, essentially. It's either the name or their tagline for the company. And again, it's like the people that have been, so there's old Blizzard, right? Old Blizzard was the guys who started Blizzard, who made all of the Blizzard games that we know and love in their first iterations. And then there was Professional Blizzard, where they became a professional company and they hired a bunch of people. This is where they hired again, from what I understand, they hired that was a point where they hired most of the first ever women to work at their company. And a lot of those old guys who were in that first iteration of the company ended up marrying a lot of those women. And again, I've checked recently, most of those marriages are still legit. So that's where, and I've had this discussion before, where it's there's good workplace mingle culture where couples form, get married, have kids, and life goes on. That's the cycle of life that's fairly common, right, in most cases, most places. And then you have bad culture where you hire women and they're degraded and forced to participate or be the target of cubicle crawls at the company, and drunk people coming up to them and putting their arms on them or giving them kisses that they don't want, or that standard harassment stuff. And The difference in that is actually it's actually that there's not that far, there's not that much of a difference. In one case, you get people drunk, and if they have, you know, scruples and proper, you know, etiquette, they don't become giant pieces of human garbage. And then there's those times where they do, and it's a very fine line between that. It is a very fine line between those things. And typically what you need older people there who are not drunk, who are chaperoning the events and saying, hey, you've had a little too much, calm down. I'm going to send you home in a cab now because you're getting a little, like, you just tried to do something that wasn't, you know, good. We're going to have a talk about this on Monday, but, you know, you go home now. If you don't have that person there, it devolves into that second thing very quickly.
Sure, but I don't think that's a fine line at all. That comes down to the quality of people you have, and the atmosphere of the company that enables or doesn't enable that. And I mean, if you have HR covering up claims, or, you know, there's, I think.
Well, that's a different. I'm just talking about party culture right now. Right now, I'm just talking party culture. Party culture goes from good to bad very quickly. All you need is one or two bad apples and no chaperones to go from like a party where everybody has good thoughts about it for the most part, except, you know, maybe Joe because he had way too much Jägermeister, and situations where you get, you know, where you get PR and we get the not the PR but the HR involved, and then PR covers everything up. It's like right. I really think in party culture that is a very fine line, and all it takes is one or two bad apples or the lack of a chaperone. And as soon as you have that happen, which again I think is what happens in a lot of cases, it's not good. It's why always having a designated driver is a good idea. In there should always be one designated person per every like 5 to 10 people who are drinking. Like hands down.
Yeah, but we are anyway. You're talking about chaperoning now. You know,
no.
Full adults
Chaperoning
who are
no.
Business professionals. Like
I think it's more so like mentors, right? Like leaders.
You're talking about leadership in general, sure. And I mean,
well, I'm talking literal chaperones. In which case, again, most people just refer to them as the designated drivers. You know, most other people, you know, refer to that. In some cases, that's the person who's distributing the alcohol who knows when, you know, Joe has had too much, you know, and who can gauge that properly. That's what I'm talking about with a chaperone. I don't mean like, you know, your Uncle Jimmy's there standing in the corner.
No, I know what you're saying, but like in general, like if you're having cubicle crawls where, you know, you're in the office, people are getting drunk.
Well, and again, I've had this discussion with Max. We've had this discussion. What's bad in a cubicle crawl? Well, if the cubicles are empty, then it's a dumb college game of like, see how many cubes you can crawl under. The minute that you add girls into that mix in those cubicles, that they don't know that they're going to be, you know, having a surprise visit from somebody crawling under their desk. And then the next minute that you add skirts in there, it goes from bad to worse to, you know, HR should probably be involved, like very quickly. But again, it's like it entirely depends on what the definition of most of these things are. And again, that's not that far of a throw. That's one good person who knows how to like keep people in line and to establish proper boundaries not being there.
Well,
that's all that takes.
Maybe that's but there's a problem if you have people who are going to engage in that kind of behavior without supervision. That's just a problem. That's a deeper problem. You know, if there's a chaperone there or not, is my opinion. But regardless, I mean, getting back to sort of the main, obviously, a lot of big problems with Blizzard, and Phil's, you know, Microsoft bought Activision Blizzard at a very, very interesting time here. And so I guess one of the big questions, there's a lot of big questions, is Bobby Kotick going to remain in power? Is this going to be good for the employees of Activision Blizzard? Is Microsoft going to clean up Activision Blizzard?
There's also some comments from Funky in the chat, where he says, this transaction also sheds a new light on all the old school Blizzard going out to mount their own studios. And he foresees that Blizzard will become an outsourcing studio for all of those studios Microsoft bought these last 5 years of unrevealed franchises and games and that need help to finish them. Because he thinks that they're like not necessarily buying the franchise, but they're buying the devs.
Yeah, I think no. I can assure you that they did not buy competent devs. That's the next thing I was going to get into here. Microsoft did not buy competent devs. They didn't. As much as there's like thousands of developers at those studios, the vast majority of those people are rudderless without proper leaders, proper mentors, from a technical perspective, and most of those people are gone.
Well, the best employees have been
in
getting...
the industry knows that those people have been gone for well over a year now. Like, all you have to do is look at some of the recent cinematics and some of the recent stuff. There's a cinematic that Blizzard put out in their last one of the last updates for World of Warcraft. The lip syncing wasn't on. The body movements made it look like somebody did it in like one of those old like partial, like it wasn't even an actual render engine. It was just one of those like stick man figure like
wireframe,
like
or the IPOs.
Everything uses wireframe, so that's not
but you can have I'm just trying to picture what you're talking about. Like if it's like
they animated him moving and fighting like those old Stickman videos that we used to watch before YouTube was a thing.
Okay,
slow, bulky movement. His shoulders aren't moving independent of his torso. That kind of thing. Where it's like the guy's swinging a sword, but like his whole like upper half of his body is moving. It's just terrible. One guy took that video from the internet, just a kid in his basement, managed to redo that entire cinematic with user made like player made tools and other stuff. I'm sure he used some professional tools in there. And in 4 days, I think it was 4 days, he made that animation from absolute garbage, which was officially released, to something that looked really good in 4 days. And this is part of the problem that we're talking about. Blizzard has thousands of people at their disposal, and they couldn't even afford to have like two people that were half this kid's skill work on this video for 4 days, something that they had been working on for, it was one of the longest like patches there has ever been. I think it was almost a year. So almost a year later, you don't have the person or the ability to do what one kid can do in his basement in 4 days. You can't afford to have a guy go over one of your primary animations and improve it. Like, again, they're top quality people that used to be there, that used to function and make this stuff good. Those people aren't there anymore. All you have is you have a lot of newbie people, a lot of them, who don't really know what they're doing.
This is what happens when Blizzard lays off a whole ton of their staff and then hires people at lower salaries to replace them.
Yeah, and then all those people leave.
All right, everybody, you are listening to this breaking news broadcast here on the Triple S League. Of course, the big news today is Xbox/Microsoft has purchased Activision Blizzard King, which we usually just call Activision Blizzard. Of course, the developers of Overwatch, Diablo, Call of Duty, World of Warcraft, StarCraft, and Candy Crush, which is probably the game that's doing best out of their whole catalog right now, as we've alluded to several times. My name is Ash. I am here with Subsidian Max Darrett, host of Maximum News on Triple S Podcasts. We've got Moontag with us as well. And we do want to hear your opinions in the live chat. And, Moon's going to read out some of those. I'll read some of those as I come across them. I mean, either the rest of you can respond to them as well. But also, I'll plug that super chat button if you want to guarantee your message is seen and read out, as long as it's not, something that'll get us banned off YouTube. We'll read out your super chats, guaranteed. But Funky started us off today with some points that I wanted to read out. So, and I think this is an interesting one. So, he says Microsoft has effectively become the Disney of the games industry. Game Pass has effectively become the Netflix of video gaming, back in the days where Netflix was only a streaming platform. Yes, Netflix has games now. They have mobile games. I tried a few of them. They were not fun. They were very well made, but they were not fun. Anyway, that's a total side thing. And by well made, I mean like high production quality. But I did not enjoy playing them. It was a weird experience, actually. So, Funky also says a Game Pass app on Linux, Android, or even Linux. I don't know that you meant to write that twice. A Game Pass app on Linux or Android is a possibility now, since what Microsoft wants is subscribers. Absolutely, that recurring info or that recurring revenue from the Microsoft Game Pass is definitely what they're after. They can expand their catalog and expand onto different platforms. I mean, the more they can do that, just the better off they'll be. And it'll be infinite money coming in forever. So what about this though? I mean, Mike, we're now in a place where, so we've been joking about the triple B developers, as a play on the whole idea of AAA developers. We've been joking about the triple B developers, Blizzard, Bethesda, and BioWare, and how they've all gone superbly downhill, even though they are or are owned by some of the biggest publishers in the world. Now Microsoft owns two of them. So we're coming to a point where a Microsoft monopoly on gaming is a real possibility. I mean, they'll never own Sony, but PlayStation, they're gonna crush. They're just gonna crush PlayStation with this, unless PlayStation has something amazing up their sleeves.
Well, I mean, if you spend as much time as I do speaking with indie devs, you'll know that a monopoly is not going to happen in video gaming ever again.
No, but as far as like the big, I mean, Microsoft just owns so
as far
much,
as the big
so much
studios
stuff.
go.
Obviously, there's always going to be plenty of indie devs out there. But
also, to your earlier request, Ash, Microsoft bought out Bethesda for $7.2 billion.
$7.2 billion. Okay, so they spent
10 times
they spent
more.
10 times more than that on Blizzard.
Honestly, like right now, like if I were an entrepreneur trying to build a gaming Goliath enterprise, right now I'd rather have Starfield than Overwatch.
Absolutely.
Like right now, I would be banking on Starfield doing better than what Overwatch can do on its own. Overwatch, I meant to do this earlier. Excuse me for the hiccups. Overwatch is not in the top 10. It's not in the top 20. It's at the bottom of the top 30. Oh, sorry, the top 40.
Ouch.
There are 17,000 people watching that game right now.
Overwatch.
Genshin Impact has more viewers right now. And again, Overwatch is only up right now because there's a couple of people talking about this deal. There's
that's true.
If we count out the people who are going, oh my god, guys, this big story going on right now, playing the game and talking about it at the same time, if we count out them, they actually fall down to about 50th. So I don't think they have the staying power. World of Warcraft right now is only in the top 20 games being played right now because SFan TV is currently talking about this news whilst playing. I think that it looks like he's doing some like Battlegrounds or something like that. And Towley is also talking about this news. And if you removed both of those people who are currently streaming this game, if you remove both of them, again, World of Warcraft goes from 55,000 viewers down to about 30,000 viewers. That puts them down at the bottom of that list. So again, there's nothing currently going on with Activision Blizzard that is of note.
Well, what are the chances that that Microsoft's going to breathe some new life into these franchises, though? Now, this is not going to be an immediate thing because, this deal's not going to be completed, it's estimated, until sometime in fiscal year 2023, which overlaps with 2022, but sometime near the end of 2023 fiscal year, so probably not till next year. So we're looking at a year and a half before this deal's even finalized, ish, and then Microsoft really at that point, Microsoft really has full control over Activision Blizzard, and Activision will be reporting directly to, I believe, reporting directly to Phil Spencer, who, as of this deal, is also now the CEO of Microsoft Gaming. So that's another sort of side thing that's related to this. I don't know how much that changes what he's actually doing, but Ray Mills in the live chat says, I'm sure Microsoft will do their best to get the projects they currently have in the pipeline out as soon as possible, as Activision has been slowly killing all their franchises, mostly due to developmental issues from people leaving, the issues from lawsuits, which have been killing each franchise off slowly, like Overwatch, who hasn't had a sizable content update in years. So as Microsoft takes over Blizzard, are they going to breathe some new money and some new life into the projects that they have now that are struggling? And could this potentially be, could we look at like a new renaissance of Blizzard's franchises, or is this just a bad deal? And Microsoft just bought a bunch of bum projects. So what do you all think?
Well, I don't think that's going to be the case for Call of Duty. I think there's not enough incentive, even with the buyout, for them to do any sort of innovation with that. Maybe with regards to like franchises that have yet to be kind of stained, maybe something with StarCraft, maybe they could put some better people on the World of Warcraft. They're not going to do anything with Candy Crush. I don't really see the incentive or the passion from a lot of people to try and evolve these franchises. But then again, I'm not really involved with most of these franchises. I haven't played World of Warcraft in several years. Same thing with Call of Duty. So maybe I'm just ignorant.
Fair enough. I don't play most of these either. But for example, Diablo 4, like Diablo has been really, really struggling. If they see, Microsoft has been doing really well. I don't think that Phil Spencer, I think he does for the most part know what he's doing in terms of, the approach they've been taking with, buying these smaller studios, providing them with money with a relative amount of autonomy. Like, they want to put out good products for, that's what's going to bring them the most money in the long term. So I do think they're looking long term, but could they look at Diablo and say, okay, we're going to fund this, but we want you to make it something that the gamers actually want, because they do actually have phones. They just don't want to play Diablo on them.
Right.
Yeah, well, it kind of depends on like the staff that they actually get to go and work on these things, because like even though they have deep pockets, if you just throw money at a thing, that's not necessarily going to fix it. So I think it's going to come down to like how they distribute staff to make something that gamers actually want.
Right. That's a good point, Moon. Is the problematic management at Blizzard going to stay where they are? Is Bobby going to stay where he is? That's, again, Saib has given his opinion on it. We've had, some opinions on it from our live chats and on Twitter. Oh, he's definitely going, or no, he's definitely staying. Hard to say this. We know that he is staying for now. What's on the screen right now is a letter from Bobby Kotick, as part, basically as part of this announcement. And he mentions here that, they expect it to be closed sometime in Microsoft's fiscal 2023 year ending June 30th, 2023. So long ways away. Until then, they are going to continue to operate completely autonomously. So that's a year and a half. At the most, this is a year and a half away. So Activision Blizzard is still going to be doing their own thing until this deal closes. And then he says he's going to continue as the CEO with the same passion and enthusiasm he had when he began this amazing journey in 1991. Reading through this whole level, and I'm not going to this whole letter, and I'm not going to torture you with it, but it's just it's a bunch of fluffy schlock written by someone who sounds like they know nothing about video games whatsoever. Now, of course, I'm reading into that because I do think that, Bobby's just a business guy and doesn't know anything about games, but tries to sound like he does. But I mean, his passion is to squeeze as much money out of their fans as possible, I think is how I read this. And so that's, by whatever means necessary. I mean, the quality of their products has gone down here. This is what's really driving me crazy about all of this. Like, are they expecting us to just forget, to get excited about this and just forget that things are terrible for Activision Blizzard right now? That their output has been terrible, as I said at the beginning. Plus, there's all of this disgusting stuff going on. Plus, there's as it's said in one of the reports here that Bobby is said to have known. Where is that? Just want to make sure I get it right. Kotick is said to have known about instances of sexual misconduct at the company for years without reporting them to the board. He has also been accused of mistreating women on numerous occasions. I mean, it's like they just want us to forget that all of this is happening. And hey, be excited. Well, no.
It's all corpo speak.
It is. Yeah. What is there to get excited about here?
Just Spyro 4 for me. That's it. And that's like one of the very, in the grand scheme of things, that's like a very minuscule thing in terms of their bottom line. But goddamn, am I excited. Yeah. But I imagine, look, I'm just me trying to find a positive element in all this. Aside from Bobby Kotick, this whole Activision Blizzard thing has just been so huge. Undeniably the biggest controversy in the gaming world that came out last year. It would be very unwise for Phil Spencer to not at least address it. And I think it would be very wise to, I'm just speaking from a business perspective here, to at least demonstrate what they're going to do to address this company culture. Because as we said, the people that are the devs there, they're not very good. They're the people that have been engaging in a lot of this type of behavior. They're just going to be moving over under Microsoft's umbrella. So what are they going to do with those devs? They're not just going to replace them, right? They have to input corporate policies, training programs, and I would like to see at least Phil Spencer address the process of how they're going to do that, maybe like in a press release or a video or whatever, just something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm with you, Max. I think this is one of the worst things that could have, this headline here is one of the worst things I could have read a week before this deal being announced. Head of Xbox doesn't want to be virtue shaming Activision. And so, I mean, this just kind of suggests to me that he's taking a softer stance because suddenly it's going to be his company. Mm-hmm. They want to buy it now, and suddenly it's their territory. But I agree. I think I would be a lot happier and a lot more... I'd feel a lot more positive about this if they would address it. It's the frickin' elephant in the room. It's not invisible. It's right there. and everyone's just pretending there's no elephant in the room. I never fully understood what that meant until now, because it's just right there. Its ass is in your freaking face, and they're trying to convince you there's no elephant in the room. I don't know. I have a big problem with that. Yeah. We can look at some of the replies and responses on Twitter here, too. I've got both Activision's and Microsoft's announcement on Twitter, and let's see here. Some people saying it's great. What's that?
Just got to say, I got to dip out in about 5 minutes.
Oh, okay. Well, then let's wrap up with final thoughts. Actually, we have been going close to an hour. Well, let's get your final thoughts, or if there's any other topics that we haven't touched on, or any other aspects of this that we haven't touched on you want to talk about, Max. What do you think?
I got to be honest. Like, I've already stated my personal thoughts on this towards the beginning. If there are like any challenges to my thoughts or anybody else's thoughts that are in like comments on Twitter, I'd be happy to hear what people are saying. Like, I'm sorry if my leaving derailed you.
No. It's I'll go through some of these after you duck out. Honestly, I mean, these are all we can really talk about are initial reactions. We will discuss this further on the podcast tomorrow, everyone who's listening. But yeah, are there any other aspects of this that we haven't touched on that you want to discuss?
I don't think so, man. Like, just the only thing that I can think of is that this is probably good from a business perspective. For Xbox, it sort of positions them in a way that they can compete with their direct competitor, that being Sony. They have more games that they can make exclusive, that can go up against Sony's exclusives. That's sort of the position that Xbox has wanted to be in for the last decade, which they kind of messed up with the release of the Xbox One, right? So it's good in that respect. But in regards to whether or not these exclusives are going to do well now that they're under the Microsoft banner, I don't know. The only one that I'd be willing to put my money on is Call of Duty, but everything else, it just depends on how much TLC they give to franchises like Diablo and Overwatch, and with Overwatch 2 and stuff like that. And yeah, I'm just sort of blasé about the whole thing. The only thing, of course, that I'm excited about is Spiral 4.
Fair enough. Yeah, fair enough. If they came out and were like, if the first thing they announced, that Microsoft announced as part of this, was a new StarCraft, that would probably be amazing as well. I mean, that would be a lot for a lot of people. However, it is tough to get excited about that at this point, considering the deal won't even be complete until next year sometime. And we just started 2022. So there's lots that's going to be happening. And we're still waiting to see the outcome of Microsoft buying Bethesda. We don't have Starfield yet. We're still waiting to see what they've, what they're going to pull out of that, if it's going to be a good thing for gaming. But all right, well, thank you so much for being with us for this for as long as you could here, Max. Feel free to duck out. Check out Max Darrett on his channel. It's called Max Darrett. He does a lot of great content about doing deep dives and analyses into gaming and other pop culture things, movies, as well as mental health. He also hosts Maximum News on our sister channel, Triple S Podcasts. And Saib does that show with him. And then Saib and Moon and I do the Augmented Reality Podcast, which is coming back tomorrow, as I mentioned earlier. So subscribe over at Triple S Podcast for a lot of great content. You can find the link to that in the description below. And also subscribe here on the Triple S League for game guides, comedy, and all kinds of other content, all gaming related that we do here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, Griffith says, I personally think that the cost of purchase was so high that they'll hyper-monetize these games even further to make a profit. I mean, anything's possible.
I think the goal I've been sitting here kind of like going through some articles and thinking really hard about this. What is Microsoft's goal in this? Did they really want Candy Crush? I think if they really put their mind to it, they could probably come up with a better Candy Crush. Did they really want World of Warcraft?
If someone gave me the opportunity to own Candy Crush, I certainly wouldn't turn it down. But I see your point. But the thing is, you can't downplay the power of the brand. Candy Crush is a powerful brand. Even if you can come up with a better game, you can have a hard time overtaking Candy Crush. You know. Anyway, their goal. What is their goal?
Well, that and again that's the $68 billion question.
Yeah, so close,
like,
so close to the magic number.
What is their goal? And I think their goal is to just corner as much of the market as they can. I don't think they wanted to make this purchase at the rate that they're making this purchase, but I think the opportunity to buy them came up. They have a war chest of like $250 billion.
Yeah, so even though this price is like huge, it's a drop in the bucket for them.
Well, not a drop in the bucket, more like a fifth of the pie. So so I think what they're looking at is that they'll be able to like get a lot of the infrastructure, a lot of this stuff. Analysts who like playing WoW have been telling WoW that they need to go back to their roots, that they need to evolve somewhat. Obviously, going back to their roots didn't work, for Classic. Like, I mean, it was a success up until they started to butcher it. But there's lots of people who look at World of Warcraft and say, hey, guys, you can get back to this levels of success if you just stop being a gigantic piece of garbage. Like, just go back to being normal. Like, legitimately, just go back to being not a gigantic piece of garbage. Do your job right, and if you make it like pretty much free to play, you will have millions and millions and millions and millions of people playing Warcraft, because it does have that something. It does have that something. And even after all these years, even after all the butchering that they've done to it, after all of the lessons that the leadership has just driven that thing into a wall over and over and over and over again, there's still something there. And if they can like step in, if they turned it like free to play with like a verified Xbox account, I mean, you'd probably see their numbers like skyrocket. If they improved the game even more so, you'd see the numbers skyrocket again. If they added some actually good content and created, I don't know, something that actually brought people back to the game in the form of like, doing their own like arcane show. Again, if they did it right, they could do it. But I think when you're looking at Tencent and Embracer Group and Sony, I think Microsoft had to jump at this buy because it was the right thing to do to make money, essentially, to like stay at the head of the pack, so to speak.
Yep. Yeah. So was it just too good of a deal to pass up, or would it have been a case of like if someone else acquired Blizzard, that would have been really bad for them? Probably a bit of both.
Well, it would have been pretty bad for them. The one thing that you probably didn't want is you did not want Tencent to get their hands on World of Warcraft, because then they'd have World of Warcraft and Riot. Blizzard. You didn't want Tencent to get Blizzard. Obviously that includes World of Warcraft, but you didn't want them to get that and own Riot at the same time, because that just blocks you out from a pretty large piece of habitual gamers who play games because it's a habit, not necessarily because those games are good. And right now, we do see a lot of that. I was wondering who is still playing WoW right now. Like I canceled my subscription. I know so disgusted.
One, maybe two friends.
Well, I was going to bring your friend up there, Mooney, because you popped on to talk to a friend that you hadn't seen for a while.
Yep.
And she was all like, "Hey, you want to play some WoW with me?" And you're like, how are you playing WoW with all these like atrocious things going on? And she's like, what atrocious things? And
she did her own research. She's like, whoa, I didn't hear about any of this.
Yeah, because she's not, and this is a great example. She's not a high information gamer, in the sense that she does not pull up the news feed for gaming news every day and go through the top like 50 articles. That is something that a lot of gamers don't do. And so it's not an insult to say that they're not high information, because
a lot of gamers just want to play games. That's you know,
to a certain extent that actually is counter what you're saying there, Ash. It's counter to what games are supposed to be for. Games are supposed to relax, help you have fun, and wind down, not, you know, put your blood pressure through the roof and make you go, oh my goodness, who's running these companies? So when I say low information or high information, that's not I'm not disparaging anybody. That's just setting aside a group of people who keep current with game news every single day versus people who do not. And there's a lot of people who are playing World of Warcraft, who are playing League of Legends, who are playing a bunch of these other games, that they're just not high information consumers, you know, looking up information constantly. They don't know.
Well, yeah, I don't blame people at all for, you know, just wanting to play games and not be following the news all the time. Certainly don't blame people for that. Sometimes we sometimes feel the need to take a break from it because it can get overwhelming at times. Well, for me anyway, not for, I mean, Cybe's just kind of an information machine, and you know, Moon kind of does what she wants. So
yep, pretty much.
So, that's what happens when you're sleeping with the boss, I guess. But they're married, by the way. Just be clear.
Yes,
that's an inside.
That's
joke,
an inside.
yes.
We have a lot of new people who might not know the relationship status here, but they are currently in the same house, and, you know, living married bliss. But yeah, so no, I see what you're saying. I mean, so some of these games are just going to, I mean, it's kind of maybe part of why EA, you know, their sports franchises that are just nothing but you know, predatory practices and all of this. Like, how many of your average players of those games are actually aware of that stuff? But there's sorry, did you have a further point with that?
No, that's exactly right.
Yeah. So, couple more comments I wanted to read from the live chat here. So we've got Calypso Deep Sea 98 says, newbie here. Well, welcome to the stream. Thanks for joining us. Orlovsky Counseling GBR is really happy about this acquisition because now their opportunity for release to the public the assets of Call to Power 2. My company currently maintains the fork of open source version of the game. Don't fully understand all of that, but anyway, Orlovsky Counseling is very happy about this, happy about what's going on here. Lazy Clay, there was another comment I wanted to read from Lazy Clay Gamer. Yeah, so Lazy Clay Gamer says, this is something I've seen on Twitter multiple times. Spyro, Crash 4, and Banjo-Kazooie are all now brothers. I thought I'd never see this day. Are all three of those now under the same umbrella? Man,
will be, yeah.
Massive crossover potential there. You could have something like Smash Bros, but maybe like not just necessarily a fighting game. But you could have there's some huge crossover potential there with those franchises. I think could be an interesting cultural event. Jeranon says, if I want information, I come to Triple S. Oh, thank you, man. Really appreciate that. Correction, Cyber is a computer. Yes, that's true. Sriyanshi Patty says, do you think in this way Sony will be irrelevant in 2 to 3 years without any accusation? Do you mean acquisition?
Acquisition.
Yeah. So
because they're now, like, they need to catch up. Because again, if you can bring some of these games, some of these big titles to the Xbox, especially talking about, you know, the international Asian market, especially targeted over there. a lot of these people will it's at the point now where if Microsoft came out with a mouse and a keyboard setup, or some kind of like mouse / like not a full keyboard, but like maybe a partial keyboard, so that people could play StarCraft like on the Microsoft console for free, but have an account which that they could then do like having a ranked system, like that's going to get you at least 1 million people.
Well,
if
they
not
also have with the
up to
Xbox
10 million
Pass.
people.
With the Xbox Pass, they also have PC gaming. I think you can link it to your computer.
Oh yeah. But again,
but I'm talking about
bringing StarCraft to the console would be.
I'm talking
big.
about the bringing the ability to play StarCraft, which is this is not a new game. This is a very old game. Bringing StarCraft to the front of being able to have that in every home for the Asian community that gobbles that stuff up. I mean, there's StarCraft, not StarCraft 2, StarCraft 1 has been around for so long, and they still fill up stadiums for competitions and tournaments when they're playing that in Korea and in other Asian countries.
Mm-hmm.
It's still one of the biggest game franchises in that part of the world.
It does seem kind of nuts that Blizzard has done nothing with StarCraft. Yeah. And
if you suddenly bring that to to everybody who just has a console, not computers, because again, computers are generally more expensive than a $200 or $300 a console. If they can bring, and again, I want to reiterate this: the smaller, like that small white console that they have with the it's like $150 or whatever it is, and it allows like streaming or whatever. If they brought in some of these titles that are highly popular, had a conversion thing, maybe sold a separate controller or something like that, you're talking about bringing in an enormous amount of people who don't have the ability to play, in that kind of like realm, suddenly being able to do that. That would be phenomenally huge for them as a business, hands down. That would be a huge move into the Asian market, and that investment alone might have been worth it. Again, you'd have to arrange it, you'd have to build it, you'd have to do some infrastructure stuff, you'd have to, you need mouse and keyboard, or you need a mouse / keyboard thing if you were going to bring, StarCraft to the console. But if you brought StarCraft to one of these, to the micro console, whatever they're calling it now, what is it called? It's like Series SL. No, not.
I don't even know. There's too many letters at this point.
I know, and Xbox really needs to get on their.
They need to figure this name thing out. A Series X, and then the Xbox X, the Xbox XS 5, 6X, Xbox.
There's the one that looks like a fridge, and then there's the one that doesn't look like the fridge.
Series
sort of like the fridge.
The thinner, the smaller white one is the Series S.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the Series S, if you brought the Series S to the Asian marketplace with a whole bunch of these games, and they can get onto those games and they could actually compete in tournaments and stuff like that, I seriously believe that you would have an Xbox explosion of customers in that part of the world. And if you can do that, if you can bring in another 100 million players playing on the Xbox and PC, and migrating between the Xbox Game Pass and that, if you had that happen at the same time that you had a bunch of other pushes for new games on the Xbox Game Pass and that kind of stuff, and if you kept the price just really, really economical, really affordable, good content for good service, and you did that, you might bite 100 million people, in that part of the world out from under Sony. And if you did that, I mean, that's good stuff there. So,
I mean, Sony's already doing half the work for you, alienating their own customer base. So just go ahead and do that. I guess that's another question: is are these Blizzard games going to become Xbox exclusives? Sriyansh, I apologize if I'm saying your name wrong. Sriyansh Paddy says, "What do you think will be more profitable for Microsoft, making Activision games exclusive or making them available for everyone?"
Well, that is the $68 billion question.
Yeah, true.
That was just answered. So
Well, we don't know that they'll necessarily be exclusive, but I mean,
we know that they're moving to more exclusivity on some of their stuff.
Right. I'm just
now exclusivity in the sense that it's not going to be on both consoles.
Like it'll be on.
It's still going to be on PC and their console,
PC and Xbox,
and their streaming console. And again, if they do that right, if they keep up with that, then I think that puts enormous pressure on Sony.
Yeah, which we are. I mean, it does concern me that we're getting toward monopoly territory, but
yeah, no, I don't like that either. I don't like it more than
it's just kind of. I mean, a viable competitor just has to come along, and Sony's not been stepping up to the plate there. They've been going the opposite direction, really. Lazy Clay Gamer asks, "Hey Ash, what would your thoughts be if Microsoft were to greenlight external mod support for the Series X, Series S, and Xbox One for all the games that they own?" Well, I mean, I think that would be nothing but good for gaming in general. We've actually talked about this quite a number of times. Mod support on consoles, and I think. As far as is that financially viable for them, I don't know. Maybe Saib can answer that question. But I think in terms of goodwill from gamers and keeping up the longevity of their game, if they enabled mod support for Skyrim, Fallout, Starfield, and maybe I'm picking the Bethesda games because they've traditionally been some of the most heavily modded, but. Even like Halo or a bunch of the other games, if they opened up mod support on the console for those, I think that would be nothing but good. I mean, I think that there are a lot of people that want that. There are a lot of the modding community is pretty big, but as far as the financial viability of that, I'll defer to Saib. Like, do you think that would be a healthy investment for them overall if they were to invest money into, say, providing some general mod support on the Xbox? Or would that be more of a liability, but maybe a good thing as far as just their reputation and PR goes?
I think with the business model, because that's what you have to look at. It's the business model.
Mm-hmm.
What is the more profitable business model for Microsoft? Is it having people play games for 3,000 hours or 30 hours and then buying a new game? For Sony, it's playing for 30 hours and buying a new game. They would love a regular paced supply of the crappy Naughty Dog reiterations of the reiteration of the reiteration of the reiteration of the reiteration game, where you play it, you spend $80, you play it for 30 hours, then you're back to spend $80 again. And you do that over and over and over and over and over again. That's their business model. Microsoft's business model is like, here's a collection of games in this massive library. You can play any of them that you want to. And that, I think, is their business model, because it's quite obvious that that's their business model. And if they were able to add in mod support for games saying, hey, you put 1,000 hours into this game, you must really like this game. Did you know there are thousands of mods for this that allow you to customize it and create this huge library of games and continue to play of a huge library of mods and experiences that change the way that the game is played, and you can now play that for another 1,000 hours. That's the basis to Minecraft. I found out just recently that my sister-in-law plays Minecraft modded, and she goes to great lengths to mod her Minecraft. I think that was hilarious. I was like, what? No way. What? Really? But that's the thing, because there are people who have spent the last 10 years playing Minecraft, modded or otherwise, and, private server, not private server, and that Minecraft, that saved, A, it was a huge investment. B, it saved Microsoft's butt during the worst of their pitfall. So I don't think that they can ever make it a super easy. There's certain mods that you just can't have showing up in your in some kind of an automated, and it happens on Steam all the time. There's a whole bunch of mods on Nexus and on another place that we have to be careful about naming, because people get in trouble for when they name or when they link to the site, because it's technically a sandwich making site. It falls under that as far as encoding browser info goes. It's not actually that,
right.
But
for another inside joke for those of you who may be new to our content,
sandwich making
code word for, let's just say, there's a very popular site out there called Sandwich Making Hub that you may be familiar with. Anyway.
Yeah. So you can't, and sorry, where was I going? So Steam has their workshop mods, and people post mods there that they make for the game. There are people who also steal other people's mods who post that there, so that's a legal issue. Steam is obliged to immediately delete any stolen mods that were uploaded against the author's permissions. 100%, hands down, they are obliged. They have to delete the mods. The other mods that they delete are mods that are adult, because they don't have a filter system for that right now. Maybe when they get a filter system working, they'll have those kinds of mods up on Steam's marketplace, but I don't think that's coming, because they don't necessarily want to encourage. It's one thing to have an adult game made by a company that makes an adult game. It's another thing to have a normal game that's made by a normal game company that suddenly turns all of the characters into enormous, naked, anthropomorphized
right
ponies.
Right. So there might be,
or Thomas the Train, or whatever.
There might be some restriction on, there's probably some, you'd have to have some system in place. Microsoft is going to have an interest in making sure that there aren't mods getting distributed that will, say, break somebody's Xbox.
That too, and
that kind of content.
And I've talked about this before. Again, I'm not hammering on console players. I'm really not. I'm just trying to be honest with you guys to let you know I'm brutally honest sometimes. Consoles, if you wanted to brick a console, it's a lot easier to slip some code into a program to intentionally brick a console than it is to do that to a PC. It is 1,000 times easier if you have access to somebody's BIOS settings in the console. You can shut down that console permanently with great ease.
Right.
It's one of the reasons why they don't allow people to open up their consoles, and hardware wise or software wise, and why they ban those consoles from the network, because the minute that you start sharing that kind of stuff, you can start easily doing that. And if somebody comes out with a hack that bricks 20 million consoles tomorrow, that console owner is going to be up a creek without a paddle, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that is not something that they want. So, yeah, that kind of falls into there.
Bottom line, though, if Funky is of the opinion, just posted in the chat, that the return on investment is not worth it. I mean, it's if they found a way to overcome all the issues. I mean, the bottom line is that Microsoft.
We know that Microsoft is actively for mods. It's why they've made such deals that they have with Bethesda and other companies to allow mods on their ecosystem. And it works. It really does. And it's actually quite good if you can do it in that way. So yeah.
Yeah, well, Funky, would it really, like, as to implement a modding system and having people actively, yes, you would have to have staff devoted to that. There would have to be some curation and management going on there. But what would that cost compared to the development of a AAA game, like, say, Starfield or Skyrim in its day? Like, constantly adding new games to Game Pass to keep people subscribing, or maintaining that system that allows people to constantly mod their games. And, maybe not every game, but some of the bigger games, the ones that are more moddable. Would it really not be worth it? I mean, I certainly appreciate your perspective. And I don't know. That's the thing. I don't know for sure if it would be worth it for them or not. I do know that Microsoft, they want you playing for, they want you to keep that monthly subscription coming in, whether you play, they don't care. They don't care if you were playing one game for 10,000 hours, or
which is the brilliance of that system.
Yeah.
Because if you're Sony, you have to have 2 to 3 top selling games every month to keep people on your ecosystem. Microsoft doesn't have to have 2 to 3 brand new spanking AAA blockbuster games every month. They don't need it, because there are millions of people who log in to play the same game that they've been playing for the last 5 years.
Exactly.
And that is preferable. I would prefer that than to have to rely on this churning system where, again, you don't own these studios. You don't own like a large majority of these studios. If Joe, Bob, and Linda all create, just gigantic turd sandwiches for games, and those were your 3 big summer summer lineup games that launched, that summer, and you had that happen, you're in a bad position. So I don't know. Like, that's one thing for sure. I gotta take a quick break.
Yeah. Okay.
So you keep talking. I'll be right back.
All right. Well, let's see here. Mods is also a good hiring venue too. Yeah, that's true. Funky's pointing out here that mods are a good source for new ideas, and they're also a good hiring venue. Yeah. So this may be the year, by the way, that I switch over to an Xbox Game Pass subscription. Just looking at the 2 big games that we've covered recently on the channel.
Yeah, honestly, when I used to have it, I really enjoyed it because it gave me a chance for a low fee to try pretty much any game that I wanted that I normally wouldn't be able to fork out the money for right away. And they also give you the option to pay to own it as well. So then even if you do cancel your subscription, you still have the game.
Yeah, so that would be the downside, right? That would be the downside. But that's good to know that they do have that option. Yeah, I wonder if Dying Light 2 is going to be on Game Pass. Because I'm just looking at, again, the 2 previous games that we've covered that I've played extensively, Deathloop and Halo Infinite. Paid full price for both of those. Might just help the budget to subscribe and be able to access those just for the subscription fee.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Orlovsky Counseling says, I hope that Microsoft allows third-party developers to create games on their IPs. That would be fantastic. And if you think about, say, if they acquire some passionate young studio that could make a Diablo game or a new StarCraft game, people who are who are fans of these franchises and actually know what the people who love those franchises want in a game, then that could be epic. That could be epic. Somebody said earlier World of Warcraft 2 would be, an epic announcement. And again, I wonder if it would be better for them to say, for Microsoft to come to swoop in and like create a new World of Warcraft, or to just kind of breathe new life into the existing one. What would be the best path for them to take here. But again, we're talking about things that I keep having to remind myself that we're years away from seeing any tangible results from this, because again, the deal is not even going to be completed until next year sometime.
Yeah, it's still pretty early to say.
Sriansh Patty says, in India, Game Pass Ultimate is $9 with 7 months free subscription. That's not too bad. That's not bad at all. Arturo says, Dying Light will be in Game Pass. Okay, that's good to know. Like that might just do it for me. I mean, much as I would like to have it in my Steam library, again, like I've got so many games in my Steam library. I love playing them. I'll play them for a long time and then never go back to them ever again, right? So, it's because there's always new stuff that, Yeah, Funky says, if one plans to buy 3 full-priced games in 1 year, then Game Pass is kind of worth it. For sure. And I mean, I don't know if I would be buying 3 AAA-priced games in a year if I wasn't doing this on YouTube. I would probably buy. Actually, like before I started, I was mostly like I was buying discounted old games.
Oh, totally, right.
I was playing Portal 2 in what year? What year is it now? Okay.
Right?
I played Portal 2.
22 right now.
Yeah, 22. I can't believe it. It's so weird. I played Portal 2 years after it came out. It ran on this crappy old laptop that I had that I think had an integrated graphics card. That was the type of game I was playing before we started on YouTube. I didn't really have computers that had good graphics cards or anything like that.
Right.
Didn't make that investment.
Yeah, no, it was console all the way because it was like all I could afford at the time.
Mm-hmm. And that's, well, there is, like I was saying, the consoles have their downsides. They do. In some way,
I like the affordability.
In some ways, they do hold the. In some ways, they hold games back in terms of what they can do technically, but they are good for. They're more affordable, and some people don't want the complication of an entire PC to game on. They just want something that you can plug the disc in and go, or just nowadays you just download it, right?
Right.
So they have their advantages as well. Not going to disparage people who play on console for sure.
I don't know. I still like a console type setup just because I like the controller in my hand. It's a lot easier for me to deal with rather than keyboard all the time.
Oh yeah, and
ergonomics.
For me, it depends on what game I'm playing too. I mean,
this is true.
First-person shooters absolutely need mouse and keyboard. Third-person, a lot of third-person games, I'll switch to the controller, even if I'm playing on PC. Excuse me. Yeah, so yeah, a lot of third-person games, definitely controller for me. But yeah, it all depends on the game for sure. But again, yeah, to have, as Cy was mentioning earlier, if they were to have that keyboard, somebody who's more, if anyone out there knows the answer, can you connect a keyboard and mouse to your Xbox?
Not without a dev kit.
Not without it?
Or like a dev kit. What do you call it? Like an operating, like you have to go into the BIOS and change that.
Didn't
Didn't
it used to be possible? I could have sworn at one point it was possible to connect keyboard and mouse to an Xbox or
one of the older
console.
ones. Yeah. And again, I'm pretty sure you had to go in and do some settings switches. The Sega one had a mouse and keyboard. That was the first console that had one.
I think the Super Nintendo even had a crappy mouse and something. Because they had this. They had that Paint program.
No. No, I'm pretty sure you're remembering that wrong.
No, you couldn't just plug
that wrong, but like I like.
You don't remember Mario Paint? You could plug something into it and draw with it.
Yeah, but that is not a mouse and keyboard.
I didn't say mouse and keyboard. Not a keyboard, but they had a mouse or some kind of input tool. I think it was the Super Nintendo, but yeah, not like a ordinary computer mouse that you could just plug in.
Well, nobody's ever had that because they always sell you that as an option. They don't.
Sure, yeah.
They would never allow you to just plug the keyboard that you have in your house up to the thing. No, they'll never allow that. They will never allow that. What they allowed is they sold you, in the case of Sega, they sold you the mouse and the keyboard that connected into the system by itself. And that was what they let you connect with. They didn't let you connect with just a mouse and a keyboard that you had lying around.
By the way, just to prove that I'm not a total idiot, there's the Super Nintendo mouse on your screen there. But yeah, like it's got the proprietary connection. But anyway, yeah, some more comments.
So I happened to look at my phone while I was away, and I was reminded by an industry friend that that we might be looking at this the wrong way when it comes to some of the products. And all I have to say to remind you of this, for those of you who are real smart cookies in the audience, it's not about bringing, RTS games to Microsoft in that way, or in the way that I was thinking about it beforehand. And I was reminded of this, and this is actually correct. Actually, what we have is we have the ability to now bring the RTS games, StarCraft and Warcraft, to the same studios that just redid the Age of Empires games, and who have done phenomenal work in bringing the RTS experience back from the grave on the PC.
There you go. This is the kind of thing that we were talking about this a little bit while you were away there. But yeah, somebody had commented they hope that some Microsoft owned third-party studios maybe will get a crack at doing some of these franchises. And yeah, if they could take the StarCraft IP and revitalize it, put out a new game that is just an excellent experience made by some people who know what StarCraft fans want out of a game, that could be truly amazing. Right?
Mm-hmm. And so that's what I went, oh yeah, if there's a studio that has the potential to bring in that experience, that amazing deep experience of like, hey guys, here's an amazing experience with RTS. It's the companies and the studios that have been doing that currently. So yeah, that's some big stuff. I was I kind of like was like, oh yeah, that's actually like,
well, because
that is actually a very good idea.
They do own tons of studios now, and honestly, they might be buying a lump of coal that they're planning to shape into a diamond. You know what I mean? I know that's not entirely accurate metaphor, but you know,
terrible metaphor.
They might be planning to.
You don't shape coal into a diamond.
Well, I know, that's why I said.
You compress it with much stress. There's this.
So maybe they bought a bad metaphor that they're going to turn into a good metaphor. You know what I mean? But yeah, like that's the thing. Will they take this and make something wonderful of it, or are they just buying something is it a bum deal? And I think that I would hope that I think there's a lot of potential. There's a lot of potential here. But I really, really hope they clean up the problems, get rid of the garbage management, and put the pressure on to improve the culture at Blizzard and do something good for the companies, for the employees that work there. Pay them what they're worth and give them recourse without retribution when they have an HR complaint and don't cover this shit up anymore. Like if it's not part of the plan to really force Activision Blizzard to shape up like that, then that's a big problem. And then suddenly you've got Microsoft implicated in that if they just turn a blind eye to this continuing to happen. But again, this is just such bizarre timing. Talk about an announcement I did not expect, to the point where, like I said at the beginning, I legit thought this was a joke or a prank at first. And I had to go confirm it for myself. I thought someone had just photoshopped a tweet announcing this. I was like, no way. No freaking way. Xbox buying Blizzard now? Like, now?
And again, it really does. The timing of it is so bizarre. It's like, why would you buy why buy it now for 90 a share, 95 a share? When, I mean, technically speaking, all you really had to do was go out and offer everybody like 70 to 75 when it dipped down to under 60. It's like, you could have saved yourselves like 20 billion there, but no. Well, I mean, they probably wouldn't have been able to get all of it and this other stuff.
Maybe they had to outbid somebody else. I mean, who knows? Maybe Tencent was gunning for it.
Yeah.
Jeranon says, best topical comment from Reddit. I foresee that when Disney and Microsoft finally merge, the Four Horsemen will descend upon the earth, and they'll be wearing Mickey Mouse ears. Yeah, that'll be the end of days. When Disney buys Microsoft or Microsoft buys Disney.
So in the last 4 days, I gotta find out what happened in the last 4 days. This is bizarre. So on Friday at 4 p.m., their stock closed at 65 USD. On Tuesday morning at 9:30 a.m., it shot up to $86. That's a $20 increase. That's a huge percentage that it shot up overnight.
Yeah.
That really begs the question, like, insider trading, like who bought all those shares? Was it just people hearing a rumor? Oh my God, Activision, or the news came out, Activision Blizzard buying, oh my God, buy the stocks now, buy. And people just drop hundreds of millions on this. Because to go from like they've been slowly going back up, slowly increasing after their dip at 57, where just everything, like just the news kept getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And I really wonder, I really gotta wonder, how much stock was Bobby rebuying up? How much stock were some of the other like heads of the company buying up over the last month? Because again, it's been decline to December 1st. and December 2nd. Then after December 1st and 2nd, oh, it just starts to go up. It goes up as somebody was buying a lot of shares. Somebody was buying, everybody who was like, oh, this stock is so terrible. Oh my God, this is terrible. This is a nightmare. What do I do with this? People were like, hey, I heard you got 10K stock, 10,000 stock in this company. I want to buy it up. I'll buy it up at the, 65. Wow, 65. Wow, that's almost like $10 more stock than it is. Yeah, sure, I'll do that. Oh, turns out that they're gonna sell it for 95. Somebody needs to check. This is why I don't have faith in humanity.
Of course, so it's being reported. I'm just looking through the headlines to see if there's any new updates since we started the stream. And I'm not seeing anything other than all Blizzard titles are now, Activision Blizzard titles are now going to be coming to Xbox Game Pass, obviously. I wonder if that's going to happen before the merger, though, or if that'll wait until they actually own the company. It's a good question. Anyway, most of the headlines are just saying they've bought it for, basic. Wall Street Journal got the number. They have a different number here. Microsoft to buy Activision Blizzard in all-cash deal valued at $75 billion. How are they getting $75 billion? 68 point something billion.
Well, again, these numbers may be in flux, and this is the other thing. We reported last week that Zynga had been bought out by Take-Two for the largest video game buyout in history, at 12 to maybe it's between 12 and like 14 billion, give or take a little, depending on stocks and all this other stuff. So there is a fluctuation in number in there, and everybody was like, wow, 12 billion, oh my god, that's the biggest thing. It was just a few years ago that Disney bought out Star Wars for 4 billion. Just a couple months ago, Microsoft bought out Bethesda for 8 billion. Oh my god, this is so crazy. And now this morning it's like, oh yeah, between 68 and 75 billion dollars. Yeah, Microsoft just had to go and outdo Take-Two. Give them a giant middle finger, say, you want Farmville? All right, we're gonna buy out Candy Crush.
There we go. Absolutely. Baron Munchausen says, I think it's mostly to get the IPs and hopefully gut the top people. Oh, maybe. I mean, they could. I don't know what the terms of the deal are. I mean, there's a possibility they could just be going for, maybe they're just trying to buy the IPs. Maybe they intend to gut the company. I don't know. Probably not. I doubt that they would have sold if that was, if there was a possibility. But then again, if Bobby, honestly, I mean, he's already got more money than I'll ever see in my lifetime. So who knows what he actually wants. I don't think he cares about the games or the IPs.
No, I guarantee you, Asmund Gold brought this up a little while ago. It's like, I guarantee you, Bobby could not pass the most basic questionnaire on the World of Warcraft. Like who is Tyrande to Malfurion? Who is Jaina to Uther? Who is just basic stuff that any fan would go, I think I know that, and they get most of the questions right. I doubt he could if he had to if it wasn't multiple choice, it was actually write your answer. I guarantee you he'd get everything wrong. 0%. 0%. He couldn't pass a basic thing if his life depended on it. Sad.
All right, let's see here. Arlovsky says, can Sony buy Nintendo? Well, I don't know. I actually don't know which company is worth more.
That's a very good question. Let's just see.
Keyser Soze says, I hope the Activision disease will not spread to Microsoft. Could be a scary possibility. I hope so too. Let's see. Baron Munchausen says, Bra, I doubt he even knows who Tyrande or Malfurion even is. And I'm probably saying those names wrong, which just proves that I'm definitely not a World of Warcraft fan boy, but I'm really Sib's the WoW guy here. Sib and Moon, you've played it too.
So
right?
as of January 14th, 2022, Nintendo's net worth is estimated to be just under $60 billion. Microsoft, why didn't you buy Nintendo?
Oh boy.
Probably because they refused to sell, obviously. But like,
yeah, I doubt they would sell.
How is Activision worth more than Nintendo?
That's a very good question.
And this comes back to this thing that we've said time and time again. Nintendo leaves money on the table all the time. Like not just like a little, not just like every once in a while where you're like, with some creative thinking you might. No, they just leave billions and billions of dollars sitting on a table that people are piling on the table on their hands and knees, begging, please, Mr. Nintendo, please. I just want to play this game. I just want to have a memory of my childhood. My life is terrible. I had to do a bunch of stupid things today. I'm stuck inside. Please, I just want to play this really old video game from a long time ago on my computer. No, we sue you. We sue you. It's like, here's how much you want. You want $1,000? You want $2,000? How much do you want? I just want to play your game. No, absolutely no, not allowed. It's like, oh my God, why does Nintendo leave so much money on the table? It is truly bizarre that again, it's not microtransactions, it's not this, it's not NFTs. How much you want to bet they'll do NFT stuff before they'll actually give you the ability to play a game on your PC or on your TV that you've been wanting to play for 25, 30, 40 years because you just want to play something from your childhood. You just want to hop on and play a little bit of Zelda 1. Is it so much to ask to play a little bit of Zelda 1? I think they have Zelda 1 out, but like, seriously, is it so hard to beg and ask to have Battletoads, like any of these games? Like, could you not make that happen? No. Okay. Right. You don't care about us. No, we don't. Okay. All right. Fine. There's your
side rant for the day.
It's so bizarre. It's so bizarre. Why?
So 70 billion for Nintendo. So what was that's their estimated?
No, 60
billion is their estimated value.
It's lower. It's lower. Their estimated value is lower than what Microsoft just bought out Activision for. That is so bizarre to me.
Right. Now, Microsoft might not necessarily have paid the estimated value, but there's different things that can factor into the price of a company. Like they might have paid more than what they think the company is worth right now because they estimate that it'll be worth even more in the future. I mean, who knows?
Well, all video game companies are essentially like if you put them in a blender and then averaged it out, yes, all video game companies have been growing as an average nonstop for the last few decades. Like nonstop. They have been growing absolutely gangbusters. You look at most of these video game companies and it's just the stock portfolio is just starts at $0, like starts at $1 or $2 per share and goes up to like 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 150 in the last 10 to 15 years. So yeah, if you were to have put a lot of money into just video games as a giant mutual fund, you would have done very well for yourself in the last 15 years, despite all the problems. Because as a whole, most of them have gone up. And especially talking about initial investment versus investment of a wider thing. Like trying to pinpoint where to buy in. Like if you bought Blizzard stock when it was $105, even with the buyout, you're still losing money. Oh, that's gotta suck. I just realized that there's a lot of people who bought in to Blizzard at $105, and now they are going to be forced to sell at $95 or less.
If they sell,
that sucks.
If they sell,
I think because this is a buyout, right? So they're not offering to buy. No, you're being forced to sell your stock.
Is that how it works? Okay. I mean,
that is how it works when you're dealing with. Now, again, that's why there's FDA approval, not FDA. Good Lord, that's why there's the trade. I don't know. I don't know what alphabet word it is, but there's a trade organization, and sometimes they have to go to a legal court and approve the buyouts. That's why they have to approve these things, because what you're doing is you're contacting all the shareholders and you're saying, hey, your stock that you bought at $5, $10, $15, $30, $105, $52, that really weird day where it dropped down to 69 cents, all of those stocks, they are now being sold. You will be able to collect your money here. This is how much your net worth is for these stocks. You will be getting a check at this point. Done. Now, some people will sell those stocks off to a different company and then reinvest that money back in because they don't want to pay capital gains tax. So there is ways around being forced to be handed a check for $5 billion. There's ways around that, but there's not ways around. You can't the other word for that, when you hold on to stock or when you sell stock or when you do something with stock that the company doesn't want you to do, that's technically that's air quotes hostile. That's a hostile takeover, really.
Right. It's
that's what that French company was trying to avoid, because they stupidly sold a majority share, and then I think it was Tencent who was just buying all of that up just nonstop, to the point where, was it Tencent? It might have been a different company. This was a while ago. The company was desperately trying to find a way to hold on to majority share. They were running at 51%. And again, as soon as they get controlling interest, the company that was buying them out was going to be like, we're going to vote to disband our companies and put all of the stuff up for auction. That's what they were trying to vote on. And they were just repeatedly trying to avoid this thing because they sold too much of their they were like, oh yeah, we'll just sell 75% of the company. That's never going to come back to hurt us. Idiots who sell off majority of their companies. You guys are idiots. Good Lord. I understand there's some mitigating circumstances every once in a while, but why you would sell off in a comfortable position, why you'd sell off 75% of your assets to somebody who wants to do you harm, and then you give them the ability to veto your 25% voting chance or choice. It's why would you do that? Are you stupid?
Depends what they value more. Do they want the payout, or do they value their vision for the company more?
Right.
All right. What if Sony bought Ubisoft? Well, I mean, I can't see that being a good thing.
I don't think Ubisoft is up for sale right now.
No, I think he's.
No,
they're just speaking hypothetically here.
No, I mean, as in so they're not even that big of a company. They're only 3.6 billion total assets. So, and the there's a the Gilnot family that owns that. They own 18.5% of that total company. That's actually quite a lot, because you factor in a whole bunch of other like people who like help establish that company and are all like, they're tight friends, / coworkers with these guys. They probably easily make up another 20 to 30% at the very least.
Right.
So
yeah.
But the actual family, so that's actually just like a small number of individuals. Like the company employs like nearly 1,000, or no, I think it's well over 1,000 people. And all of those people like together equal like maybe just slightly more than the handful of people who own that. So yeah, it's weird.
All right. Well, we have been going for almost 2 hours here, and I think we are kind of getting to the end of our things to talk about list, but we will have more to say on this, I'm sure, tomorrow on the Augmented Reality Podcast. Live tomorrow on Triple S Podcasts. You can find the description the link in the description, not the other way around. So find the link in the description below to subscribe there. Subscribe here on the Triple S League for all kinds of other content, and check out the Discord server where you can talk to us, and we have a great community that's been built up there, and you can also tell us what other stories you want us to discuss on the podcast tomorrow in the content requests room. There's places for feedback. There's topic rooms to discuss anything you want to discuss. Like we have all kinds of topics all kinds of topic rooms for almost anything you want to discuss. Everything from animals to zoos, which is also animals. We don't actually have a zoo room, but there are TV and movies and gaming and food, whole tons of things.
We have an animals channel.
Yeah, we do.
People post cute animal pics there all the time.
Yeah, we have an animals channel. We don't have a zoo channel. I was from animals to
sometimes they're even like animals and not furries. No, I'm just kidding. We don't have any furries.
He's just kidding. They're all furries.
No, don't say that. No, we don't actually.
I'm kidding. So
that is something we neither support nor endorse.
Yeah, well, anyway, lots you can talk about. It's a great, healthy community. We have great mods that make sure things stay on the level, and we keep it about the fandom and not about, politics and controversial stuff. So, so join up over there. Again, you can also request topics for tomorrow's podcast, which will be tomorrow, probably about the podcast tomorrow will start about an hour after it'll start about whatever half an hour ago is. So 23 and a half hours from now, the podcast will start. So mark the time and subscribe over on Triple S Podcasts to catch that. Myself, Moon, and Saib again. And then on Saturday, Maximum News will go live, either pre-recorded or a live stream, usually pre-recorded, with Max Darrett, who joined us at the beginning of the show today, and Subsidian. So lots of great content over there if you are looking for gaming news content. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. Please slam that like button if you haven't yet. We'd really appreciate that. And we'll talk to you again very soon. Take care.
Goodbye.
Bye.